I'm ordering $2,000 in monthly alimony, the judge ruled. You'll also continue paying the mortgage, $1,000 in child support, and health insurance until your daughter turns 18. If she goes to college, you're covering that too. That decision hit like a freight train, over $6,500 a month out of my pocket. Meanwhile, my ex-wife Lily had been sleeping with half the lawyers at her firm, and somehow I was the one getting screwed. I'm Kurt D'Angelo. My daughter Regina is everything to me, a true daddy's girl. She even told the court she wanted to live with me, but the judge didn't care. The whole hearing was a joke. Lily made her own money. Why was I bankrolling her life and her lifestyle? But I'm not the kind of guy who rolls over. I had a plan. I grew up in Lansing, just outside Chicago. We handle things our own way. I'm what you might call an entrepreneur. Real estate, vending machines, and a little business that was about to pay off in a very specific way. I own a coin exchange company like Coinstar, dozens of machines across Chicagoland. So, yeah, I sent her that $2,000 in nickels, dimes, and quarters, delivered in sacks by an armored truck, let her roll them up. Maybe one of her lawyer boyfriends can help count. Lily had stayed home with Regina until she hit school age. Then it was part-time jobs until she got the idea to become a paralegal. She studied for a couple years, sent out resumes everywhere, and landed a job at a big law firm. Sure, she's smart, but I suspect it was her looks that opened that door. She quickly rose through the ranks, mentored by a young hotshot attorney. Looking back, I wonder if she'd been trading favors even then. And like the fool I was, I supported her every step. She came home exhausted but smiling. Now I know why. We used to live in a cozy house in Oak Forest. Nothing fancy, but we loved it. She didn't. As she got in deeper with the firm, she started pushing for a fancier life. "We deserve better," she said. "You make good money. I'm working at a prestigious place. We need to show it." After 2 years of pressure, I gave in. But I didn't sell our home. I rented it out and added it to my portfolio. We bought a $900,000 place in Wilmette. Big, flashy, full of overpriced furniture she picked out. I never felt at home there. Honestly, I think that's when we really started falling apart. I wanted to keep things grounded. She wanted a spotlight. Back to the court ruling. I would follow every part of it, but on my terms. I set up a separate account for Regina. That's where her child support would go. Only she could access it. Her health insurance, top tier, Lily, she got a bare-bones catastrophic plan with a monster deductible. If she caught a cold, it was on her. Exactly 30 days later, I made my first alimony payment. An armored truck rolled up to her precious mansion. She opened the door, one of her flings by her side. The driver politely told her he was delivering her monthly check in bags of loose change. Neighbors peeked out, thinking it was some sweepstakes win. Instead, they watched pounds of coins spill across her marble floors. I stood across the street, phone in hand, capturing every clink and gasp. Justice doesn't always come in a robe. Sometimes it jingles. As the truck pulled away, Lily saw me across the street. She started screaming, but I just waved and shouted, "Enjoy your home money!" Then I climbed into my truck and drove off, satisfied. By Tuesday, the backlash had already started. A guy approached me in a parking lot and asked, "Are you Kurt D'Angelo?" I ignored him. He tried again, louder this time. Still, I said nothing. Then he snapped a photo of me beside the legal documents he held, dropped them on the ground, and said, "You've been served," before walking off. After making sure he was gone, I picked up the summons. Court was scheduled for the following Wednesday. I had 1 week to finish preparing, and I didn't waste a minute. I made calls, locked in plans, and met with people I trusted. One of those people was my daughter, Regina. We went out for lunch, and she was furious with her mom. "She's turned into a total witch," she said. I told her again, "I want to live with you." She still won't let me. I looked her in the eye and said, "I'll bring it up with the judge again, but if he refuses, I might end up in jail." "Don't do anything stupid, Dad," she warned me. "It's not worth it." "I won't," I said, "but I will speak my mind, and that might land me in trouble. But don't worry, I've got a trust set up just for you. Uncle Ken will manage it until you're of age. It's yours. Your mom doesn't get a cent." "Good," she said, strong and defiant. "She doesn't deserve anything." That's my girl, fierce, loyal, and growing into her own. Then she surprised me. "I'm going to court with you. I want the judge to hear me say I want to live with you." "I'm not sure it'll make a difference," I replied. But deep down, I admired her fire. Wednesday came. Regina, my lawyer, and I sat in the courtroom waiting our turn. Then Lily strutted in, arm in arm with her smug lawyer boyfriend. "Better play nice," she hissed at me. "You're not above the law." When the judge called my name, Regina stood up first and walked straight to the podium. "Miss, this is a matter involving Kurt D'Angelo. the judge said. I'm his daughter, she replied, and I want to ask again to live with my dad, not with that woman. Watch your mouth, young lady, the judge snapped. Custody has already been decided. I'm 15. I have the right to choose, she insisted. There were concerns raised about an inappropriate relationship between you and your father, the judge said coldly. That's why I awarded custody to your mother. I turned to Lily and saw her smirking. My lawyer stepped in immediately. Your Honor, no such allegation has ever been filed. We're unaware of any accusations. I am referring to a psychiatrist's report, the judge said. Based on that, my ruling stands. 4 months earlier, we'd sent Regina to a therapist to help her through the divorce. Apparently, Lily had found something in the notes to twist against me. There had never been anything inappropriate, ever, but now she was trying to paint me as a monster. My blood was boiling. The judge didn't even let us respond. It felt like the verdict had been decided long before we stepped into that room. And I couldn't shake the feeling that Lily's firm had pulled some strings. Then her lawyer chimed in. We'd like to file a motion to hold Mr. D'Angelo in contempt. My attorney had had enough. Your Honor, my client has met every obligation of the divorce decree. There are no grounds for contempt. Lily's lawyer wasn't finished. The $2,000 spousal support was delivered in coins, thousands of them dumped on her floor. It caused damage and took hours to clean up. The judge raised an eyebrow, but my lawyer was ready. According to U.S. Code Section 5103, coins are legal tender for all debts. The payment was valid. My client has also paid for the mortgage, child support, and insurance. Lily's lawyer tried again. She hasn't received any child support. The money is going directly to Regina, my lawyer countered. She can confirm. The judge turned to my daughter, who nodded proudly. We also have receipts for the mortgage and insurance, my lawyer added. Lily and her boyfriend lawyer were scrambling. Finally, they made one last plea. We request that future payments be made by check to avoid hardship. The judge paused, then finally spoke. That seems reasonable. Reasonable, sure, but this battle wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Before the judge could continue, my lawyer stepped in. Your Honor, may I ask a quick question? The judge raised an eyebrow. Go ahead. Would you say the Chicago Police Department is part of the city's legal system? The judge looked puzzled. Yes, obviously. Then why is it, my lawyer continued, that if someone's car is impounded, they're not allowed to pay with a check, only cash or card? Yet you're now requiring my client to make spousal support payments specifically by check? The judge floundered. Well, my point is, my lawyer added, if a branch of the legal system refuses checks, why is my client being forced to use them? The judge's face turned red. Because this is my courtroom, and I decide how things are done. That was my breaking point. No, it's because you're bending over backward for my ex-wife's law firm. What, was she sleeping with you too? I said, rising to my feet. His gavel slammed. Mr. D'Angelo, you're in contempt. 6 months in Cook County Jail unless you apologize and agree to my terms. Who do you think you are? The king of this kangaroo court? I shot back. Gasps filled the room. Even the judge looked stunned. Bailiff, take him into custody. Lily and her attorney froze, not expecting that move. As I was let out, I turned to her and smiled. Good luck getting that hoe money now. They threw me in holding, strip-searched me, and moved me into county jail, which is really just prison with another name. Right away, a couple of guards tried to intimidate me about the judge. I wasn't worried. I'm 6'4", 255 pounds, and built like a brick wall from years of physical work on my rental properties, not to mention my time in juvie as a teen. I kept to myself as I was processed and walked into the yard. I ignored the noise, the stares. I had no intention of making friends, just keeping my head down. At dinner, while I was eating alone, someone shouted, Tex! I froze. That name hadn't been used in decades. It was Randall, aka Ringer, one of the guys from my old crew on the streets. He walked over with a big grin and pulled me into a brotherly hug. Tex, man, what the hell are you doing in here? Smart-mouthed the judge, I replied. Yep, that'll do it. 6 months, unless I kiss his A, so yeah, 6 months. We talked and caught up. Ringer had always had my back and still did. He gave me the rundown on jail life and introduced me to a few guys he trusted. That meant a lot in a place like this. After I explained what happened with Lily, the court, and the bogus accusations, he asked, So what's the plan? Oh, I've got things in motion, I told him. Started prepping weeks ago, just in case. You want help? You've got it, he said without hesitation. That's the kind of loyalty you can't buy. Later that night, I lay in my bunk, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my life had come to this. My childhood wasn't easy. Abusive father, weak mother, a house full of screaming and silence. I escaped to the streets, fell in with other broken kids. We weren't a real gang, just a bunch of lost boys pretending to be tough. Petty theft, joyriding, acting out. I ended up in juvie after a car theft. As harsh as it was, that stint probably saved me. It forced me to reflect. When I got out, I promised myself I'd build a better life. And I did, until it all got ripped apart. But one thing's for sure, I'm not done fighting yet. By the time I turned 20, I'd saved enough to buy a foreclosed home on the south side. It was the start of my rental business, fixing up homes, flipping some, and renting out the rest. At 22, I was at a club looking for a fun night. I couldn't even tell you the club's name now. It's long gone, replaced by overpriced condos. That night, I met Lily. At the time, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. She was fresh out of Seymour, Indiana, a small-town girl with big city dreams. We were opposites. Her life had been quiet and safe. Mine was anything but. Maybe that's what pulled us together. Within a year, we were married. A year later, Regina was born, our daughter, my entire world. I'd bought a fixer-upper in Oak Forest, intending to flip it, but Lily fell in love with it. So we made it our home and spent the next decade building a life, renovating together, raising our daughter, hosting neighborhood BBQs. It felt like the American dream, but then things changed. Lily got hired at a big law firm, and suddenly the modest life wasn't good enough. She swapped jeans for designer labels, swapped cookouts for fancy dinners with coworkers. She started mocking people from the South Side, like she'd forgotten where she came from. We fought about it a lot. Then came the push to move north. She wanted Wilmette, and eventually I gave in. Regina hated the new school, hated the rich kid attitude, and begged to go back. I felt the same. But Lily? She loved the image. The night that broke everything started like so many others. Around 6:30, she texted me, out dancing with the other paralegals. I had a feeling, so I tracked her phone. What I saw confirmed everything I'd feared. She was on the dance floor, not with her coworkers, but with men, letting them paw at her, kiss her, grind on her like she was theirs. I stayed in the shadows, watching it all. Around 9:15, I went to the restroom. Two guys walked in after me, and I overheard them talking about her. Graphic, crude, laughing about what she'd already done with them at work and what was going to happen tonight. It was no joke. They weren't just talking trash. They knew her. When I stepped out, she was wrapped around one of them, kissing him like I didn't exist. Minutes later, she texted me, "Too drunk to take the train, crashing at Paula's tonight." I replied, "That's fine." But I knew where she was really going. I watched them leave the club together, arms linked, laughing, tangled up in each other. They climbed into his Lexus like they had no care in the world. I didn't chase them. I followed from a distance. They pulled into his building's garage, and I drove straight to Wilmette. Regina was waiting up. I told her we were leaving, for good. She packed in record time. I told her mom had other priorities now. She understood instantly. We loaded up the truck and drove to our old home in Oak Forest. It had recently become vacant, and now it was ours again. The next morning, around 11 o'clock, Lily called. "Where are you?" "Home," I said flatly. It took her a second to register what that meant. "Why?" "Because I don't know who you are anymore, and I don't want to." "Where's Regina?" "She's with me. She doesn't want to live in that house anymore." She hesitated, not sure how much I knew. Then she played her usual card. "Just because you hate comfort doesn't mean you take our daughter and run." "No, but having a wife who sleeps around, that's reason enough. Expect divorce papers soon." She gasped. Then came the venom. "You Southside trash, you've got no idea the hell you're bringing on yourself. My firm will destroy you." I stayed calm. "Maybe, but I'll win in the end. You've never seen what I'm capable of." 6 months passed, and Lily made zero effort to reconcile. In fact, she went out of her way to rub it in, calling me to brag about her dates with one lawyer after another. I didn't care. There was no going back. I had to return Regina to her mother for school, though. She later told me Lily was rarely home before midnight, always dressed to impress, always trashing me. Told our daughter she should aim to marry someone rich, someone classy, not like her father. Regina defended me every time. Said she wanted to go back to Oak Forest, back home. Now I was locked in a cell, and Lily probably thought she'd won. But jail wouldn't break me. It would give me time. Time to think. Time to plan. On Thursday, 2 guards called me out. "You've got a video call," they said. "With my lawyer?" I asked. "Nope," one replied, pushing me inside a small room. "Sit down. You're not getting justice. You're getting judgment." They slammed the door behind me. I shouted for a minute, pacing, angry and alert. Then the door opened again. 6 inmates stepped in. I knew what was about to happen. I wouldn't, I warned. You'll regret it. One lunged. I broke his nose. The rest rushed me. I kicked, punched, slammed bodies into walls, but the biggest one got behind me, wrapped an arm around my neck, and choked me out. I woke up in the infirmary, bloodied, bruised, and worse. I didn't need anyone to tell me what they'd done. Sunlight filtered in. I'd been unconscious all night. A nurse approached. I glared at her, seething with rage. Not at her, but the entire corrupt system that took my daughter, emptied my bank account, and threw me in jail while my ex lived it up in a mansion. I'm not here to hurt you, she said calmly. You've been through hell. I can help if you'll let me. I softened. Sorry. She nodded, then brought me breakfast and unbuckled one hand so I could eat. Thanks, I said. You're welcome. After a moment, I asked, can I request a visit from an inmate, Randall Turner? We go way back. She gave a vague, I'll see what I can do, and left. But later that afternoon, Ringer walked in. Holy crap, he muttered when he saw me. I gave him the rundown about the ambush, the guards who set it up, and the 6 inmates. I need their full names, I said. No nicknames, first and last. He looked concerned. Well, what are you planning? An eye for an eye with a twist. He nodded. He knew that look in my eye. He'd seen it before. I'll get the names, he said. He came back the next day with a list. You sure you want to go this route? The less you know, the better. All right, he said. But I know how this ends. Sunday brought a surprise, and not a pleasant one. Lily showed up, and she brought Regina. Lily spoke first, smirking. Looks like you're making friends in here. What do you want? I growled. Regina insisted we come. Thought maybe you'd be ready to apologize, be reasonable. Hell no. And don't you dare throw that disgusting accusation about me and my daughter around again. You know it's a lie. She's a little too attached to you, don't you think? You're disgusting, I snapped. Go back to your lawyer boyfriends. Maybe they'll screw some sense into you. Oh, they already have, she said, grinning. Get out. Send in my daughter. I'm done with you. She smirked as she left, thinking she'd won something, but all she did was fan the flames. Regina walked in and froze when she saw me, bandaged and beaten. Daddy, don't cry, honey. I've had worse. You look like you were in a wreck. I'll heal, but I need you strong, okay? I hate her, she said through tears. For what she did to you, for lying about you, for making me stay with her. I know. Don't call me Regina anymore, she said. What? I go by Gina now. I'm done being her daughter. I smiled. You're more like me than you know. I take that as the highest compliment, she replied, wiping her eyes. After a moment, I leaned in. Can you do something for me? Anything, Dad. I handed her the folded list Ringer had brought. She tucked it in her bra without hesitation. Give that to Uncle Ken. Tell him to come see me. ASAP. She nodded. We didn't need to say anything more. We both knew what was coming. My brother Ken was 3 years younger than me. We both grew up under the same violent, alcoholic father, but I did what I could to shield him, took the hits so he didn't have to. He was always the smart one, drawn to computers and games. He escaped through screens. I survived through fists and grit. Ken visited me the following Tuesday. The moment he saw me, his eyes widened. Damn, he said, this looks better than I imagined. You should have seen it last Friday. We shared a laugh, then switched into the private language we'd made up as kids to talk without our parents understanding. Regina, sorry Gina, gave me the list, he said. I've started digging. What do you need? Find out where their wives or girlfriends live. He blinked, then muttered in English, Oh, crap. I leaned in and continued in our code. Once you have the info, pass it to Gummy, but not with the list. Just tell him to come see me. Gummy was a childhood friend from our old neighborhood, still lived in the same house on the south side. I'll handle it, Ken said. Anything else? Just don't disappear. I could use a familiar face now and then. Think you're getting out anytime soon? Not unless I suddenly start apologizing. And you know that's not happening. He smiled. Still the stubborn big brother. And that stubbornness kept you from Dad's fists. He didn't argue. By the end of the week, I was back in general population. Ringer had already spread word that something big was coming. The guards and the 6 who jumped me kept glaring, their looks saying stay in your lane. But they had no idea the storm headed their way. A few days later, Gummy visited. Straight to the point. Ken gave me the info. What do you want done? You heard what they did? Yeah. Then return the favor, but target their women. No DNA, no traces. Use Steely Dan or one of his flexible cousins. He nodded. Understood without needing details. All on the same day, same time. Make sure the message gets passed to them. Don't mess with Texas. I'll bring in some help, he said, then left. A week passed. Quiet, too quiet. Then Tuesday came. I noticed the 2 guards who'd set me up weren't on shift. Strange for midweek. One of the 6 looked shaken. That's when I knew it had happened. I told Ringer to spread the message. Don't mess with Texas. By afternoon, half the inmates were calling me Tex again. The 6, they kept their distance, but one finally approached, seething. You sick bastard, he hissed. My girl left me. Said she was scared of what might happen if she stayed. Said someone told her, don't mess with Texas. I stared him down, cool as ice. Sounds like smart advice. I told you not to touch me. Now your women know what it feels like. An eye for an eye, with a twist. He looked ready to explode. I leaned in. Next time, it'll be their mothers. His face went pale. He turned and stormed off. Later that day, the 2 guards came at me. You think you're untouchable? We'll make your life hell. I didn't flinch. Might want to warn your wives. They could be next, who knows? They might even enjoy it. One guard snapped and threw a punch. I didn't fight back. I let him keep swinging until another officer pulled him off. Inmates saw everything. Cameras, too. Back in the infirmary, Beth, my nurse from before, greeted me. Well, look who's back. I didn't lay a hand on him. I know. We've got witnesses this time. He's probably out of a job. One less scumbag on payroll. Careful, she said. Even the bad guards keep worse people away from you. He didn't protect me last time. He let it happen. She patched me up again. Said I'd need to stay overnight. I half smiled. Let me guess, you just wanted another look at this beat-up face. She shook her head, amused. Try not to get hit so often, Tex. The guard who beat me was suspended, pending investigation. His partner kept glaring at me, but didn't say a word. Maybe the message had sunk in. Don't mess with Texas. 3 weeks passed without a visit from Gina. I started to wonder what was going on, until Ken showed up and told me the reason. Lily was refusing to bring her. That lit a fire in me all over again. At the end of the month, Lily finally came. She nearly left Gina at home, but my daughter refused to get out of the car. Not even Lily's screaming could move her. When she walked in, she was already fuming. Your daughter's impossible, she snapped. She barely talks to me. Just like you. Stubborn. You said that last time, I said calmly. Why not ask the judge to transfer custody to me? I'll gladly take her off your hands. Not a chance. She needs a good school and real opportunity. She had that in Oak Forest, and she liked it. It's nothing compared to Wilmette. She's getting a first-rate education and meeting the right kind of people. Our daughter doesn't need connections. She needs character. She'll make her own way. You're too stubborn to see the bigger picture. No, Lily. We've had this argument 100 times. Let's not waste breath pretending either of us will change. She folded her arms. I came here for my spousal support. Bills are piling up. Well, you'll have to cover them on your own paycheck. I'm in jail. No paycheck, no support. That's how it works in the real world. You have to pay. No, I don't. What are they going to do? Throw me in jail? I smirked. Too late for that. She looked desperate. What about the bills? Maybe one of your boyfriends from the firm can help. You've got enough of them. That ended the conversation. She stormed out. Gina walked in a moment later. I lit up just seeing her. Wow, you really pissed her off, she said. She thinks I should pay her while I sit in here. Not happening. How are you holding up, Dad? I'm good. Don't worry about me. How about you? Still not talking to your mom? Only when I have to, she said. So, when are you getting out? Honey, unless I apologize to that sorry excuse for a judge, it's 6 months. And I'm not backing down unless he gives you back to me. She looked down. My birthday's next month. I wish you could be there, but I understand. I wouldn't want you to give up your principles. That stung more than any punch I'd taken. Then she said something that reminded me why I stood my ground. If you don't have principles, you've got nothing. Dr. Hodges at school told me that. He quoted Lincoln, important principles may and must be inflexible. Dr. Hodges? Yeah, he's been helping me. My grades were slipping, and the school counselor stepped in. He's been great. Of course Wilmette had a psychologist on staff. Rich schools always do. Your mom seems pretty mad at you, too. She is, but I ignore her. That just makes her madder. And I'm fine with that. I nodded. In a couple months, she might be mad at the bank instead. The mansion won't stay hers much longer. Jumbo loans don't wait forever. But Dad, won't foreclosure ruin your credit? I usually pay in cash. That house is the only thing I ever financed. Seriously? Even with all your properties and businesses? I used profits from one to buy the next. Gina's eyes lit up. I always respected you, Dad, but now I respect you even more. That smile made the whole visit worth it. The following week, word got around that the guard who beat me had been fired. The video footage showing me not fighting back made it hard to argue otherwise. A few days later, the second guard disappeared too. Transfer or termination, I didn't care. He was gone. Other inmates started thanking me. Apparently, those two had built a long list of enemies. After that, the respect I had inside grew. More guys started calling me Tex, and for the first time since I got here, I didn't have to watch my back constantly. As for the 6, they were still bitter. One guy's wife had filed for divorce, and 3 others got dumped by their girlfriends. Maybe pain really is a good teacher. With the threat of further retaliation and my growing influence, they knew better than to test me again. A couple of weeks later, I got summoned to the video room for a meeting with the judge. I told the guard flatly, not without my lawyer. But the judge is waiting, he said. I don't care. Tell him to reschedule. I'm wide open. 3 days later, they set the meeting for the following week. I requested 30 minutes alone with my attorney beforehand. They agreed. When we finally sat down, my lawyer said he hadn't received any information about the meeting. That felt off. We'd play it by ear. When the judge finally appeared on screen, it was obvious he wasn't pleased I'd made him wait. I didn't care. He still struck me as a man too full of himself. My lawyer opened. Your Honor, may I ask what this meeting concerns? We received no documentation. This didn't require counsel, the judge replied. I simply wanted to see if Mr. D'Angelo was ready to apologize for his courtroom outburst. I signaled to my lawyer, who leaned in. I whispered, my client declines to apologize, he said, and requests instead that you issue him a formal apology and grant him primary custody of his daughter. The judge's jaw clenched. I stand by my ruling, and I have nothing to apologize for. Then this meeting is over, my lawyer said. If my client changes his mind, we'll reach out. One more thing, the judge interrupted. Your client isn't fulfilling his obligations. When will he resume paying mortgage and spousal support? I whispered again. He won't be making payments while incarcerated, my lawyer said. But the house is in foreclosure, the judge barked. Not my house, I said. That's my ex-wife's mansion. I never wanted it. You're destroying your credit and losing your equity, he warned. Small price to watch my ex fall from her pedestal. Then I pushed it. Maybe all her special friends can pool together to cover the bills. I'm sure her fan club includes at least a dozen of you. That struck a nerve. You piece of South Side trash, the judge roared. I cut him off. If I'm wrong about you and my ex-wife, I apologize. I just don't understand why someone so uninvolved seems so invested. I stood and walked to the door. Behind me, I heard him snap. Counselor, your client just earned 2 more months. If he keeps it up, I'll make sure his life behind bars is hell. I smirked. Even the guard who came to escort me looked stunned. He'd clearly been listening. Back in my cell, adrenaline still pulsed through me. Clearly, Lily had said something to her friends, and one of them had whispered in the judge's ear. It was all one big corrupt mess, but they'd get theirs soon. That Sunday, Lily showed up. Of course, Gina insisted on tagging along. Thank God. You really pissed off the judge again, Lily said, arms crossed. Got yourself 2 more months. When are you going to learn? You can't beat the system. Just stop talking, Lily, I muttered. All I want is to see my daughter, that's it. It's Regina, she snapped. I turned my back on her and let her rant. Eventually, she stormed out. When Gina came in, she was all smiles. Someone's happy, I said. Of course, I get to see my dad. Is that all? Well, I've got a surprise, but you have to trust me. Always, I said. She held up a folded piece of paper. Will you sign this without reading it? I raised an eyebrow. What is it? You'll find out later, trust me. I laughed and signed it. Then she got serious. Mom said you added time to your sentence. Is it true? Yeah, Judge and I had another little moment. Well, whatever you said, he probably deserved it. We talked about school and her counselor, Dr. Hodges. She said he'd been a huge help. I had to admit I was impressed. Then she smiled again. Oh, and I've been ignoring Mom completely. It drives her nuts. I heard. Good for you. She's getting desperate now. Keeps trying to bribe me with shopping trips. I just walk away. I nodded. Well, in a few months, the bank's going to walk away with her mansion. Jumbo loans don't forgive missed payments. Won't that ruin your credit, Dad? I've never needed it. I pay in cash. That house is the only thing I ever financed. Gina stared. Seriously? That's bad. Thanks, sweetheart. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she asked, Will you miss my birthday? I'll still be here, yeah, but I've got a present waiting for you. What is it? It's a surprise, so I guess we both have secrets. At the end of the visit, I asked her to have Greg, my right-hand man, come see me. I will, she promised. Love you, Dad. Love you too, Gina. Now I just had to hope Greg had taken care of the business I'd assigned before my arrest, because now I had a new mission. Gina's birthday gift, one she'd never forget. Greg visited later that week and confirmed he'd completed most of the tasks I had assigned. I also gave him one more job, arranging Gina's birthday surprise. After confirming the details, I asked him to pass some documents to Ken. If Ken had questions, he'd visit me. Otherwise, he was to coordinate with Gummy. Gummy understood my mind better than anyone. I knew he'd carry out the next phase flawlessly while I remained clean in jail. By month's end, my reputation among inmates had skyrocketed. Word of my defiance against the judge had spread, likely through the guards, and now everyone was calling me Tex. Even the 6 backed off. One had a wife who filed for divorce, and 3 others had been dumped. They'd learned the hard way what crossing me meant. Eventually, Lily showed up unannounced. I nearly walked out, but she begged for help, claiming the house was about to be foreclosed. I reminded her that it was her house, something I never wanted, and told her to ask one of her many friends for support. When she brought up money again, I asked why she had lied to the judge about me and Gina. She had no response, just tears. I left her in that room, broken and silent. To my surprise, I was immediately called back in. This time, Gina was there. She said she'd insisted on coming and didn't want her mother to visit without her. I apologized for missing her birthday, but let her know I had a gift. I'd transferred ownership of the Oak Forest home into a trust for her. Once she became an adult, it would be fully hers. Her reaction told me everything. Whatever surprise she had planned, this solved a major piece of it. She seemed genuinely happy and mentioned her school counselor, Dr. Hodges, again. Something about the way she spoke of him made me wonder if she had a small crush. I made a mental note to meet the guy when I got out. Soon after, Gummy paid me a visit. Everything was in place. Video footage had been collected. Cleaning crews, paid well under the radar, had planted cameras inside the law firm's offices. What we captured was explosive. Married lawyers, paralegals, even politicians, including the judge himself, caught on camera, boasting about being above the law. Ken would upload the footage anonymously with a tagline, "Don't mess with Texas." The clips would be sent to news outlets, tabloid journalists, and social media channels. The media frenzy would be immediate. Damage control? Too late. Within days, buzz spread through the prison. Even inmates had caught wind of it. The phrase echoed through the halls, "Don't mess with Texas." And the smile on my face said it all. Eventually, one of the 6 approached me to apologize. His life had already started unraveling, and now he wanted peace. I accepted, but reminded him that strength doesn't equal safety. Respect does. A few days later, the judge summoned me again. My lawyer arrived just before the video call began. We both knew what was coming. The judge appeared on screen, furious, shouting accusations. He demanded to know if I was behind the leaks, claiming I'd orchestrated the whole thing. I stayed calm. He had no proof, and I reminded him that I'd been in jail for 4 months. When he threatened me, my lawyer recorded everything. The judge, in a fit of rage, shouted promises of retaliation, unaware he was handing us legal ammunition. That recording would soon become another nail in his career. A few days later, Lily returned for another visit. I wasn't exactly thrilled to see her. She was furious, blaming me for losing her job after her name and photo had spread all over the news. But the truth was, she'd done that to herself. Her choices had led to this, not mine. She was desperate, jobless, and unemployable. Even her hometown had turned its back on her after local news ran headlines about her involvement in the Chicago scandal. Her parents were relocating to Florida just to escape the shame. She had nowhere to go, and apparently no one left. I reminded her that she wasn't exactly winning the popularity contest. Her parents avoided her, and so did her daughter. She begged me not to take Gina from her, but I made it clear. Once I was out, I'd petition for full custody. With her public image in ruins, I was confident the court would reconsider who the better parent really was. She was falling apart, and I didn't hold back reminding her of what she'd destroyed. By the end of the conversation, she broke down crying. I asked if she'd brought Gina, and she snapped, saying Gina was with that doctor. I ended the visit right then. This time, though, I didn't walk away with a smirk. I felt something close to pity. The very next day, a fire broke out on the top floor of a 5-story downtown office building. The rest of the structure was saved by the sprinkler system, but the top floor was destroyed. I couldn't help but smile when I saw the news. Ken visited shortly after and confirmed that the law firm's off-site server had completely melted down. They'd lost everything. Years of legal records, confidential files, all gone. Another small victory. A couple of weeks later, Gina came to visit, glowing with excitement. She'd finally finished the surprise she'd been working on. It turned out she'd filed for and been granted emancipation, with her legal adult status and the Oak Forest house placed in a trust. She could now live independently. Lily was being evicted from Wilmette, and Gina had chosen to return to the neighborhood she considered home. She'd reconnected with friends from school and was ready to start fresh. The house had given her a path forward, and she'd taken it. She explained that Dr. Hodges, her school counselor, had helped her through the process. Naturally, I was suspicious. I didn't like the idea of a grown man getting too close to my daughter. When Gina left the room to get him, I braced for a confrontation. But when they returned, I was stunned. Dr. Hodges wasn't a man at all. It was Alexandria Frederico, or Freddie, a woman from my old neighborhood. We'd gone to school together, though we ran in different circles. She remembered me as Tex, my old nickname, and clearly hadn't forgotten my reputation. Still, she'd become an impressive, educated woman. And she had clearly been looking out for Gina. She'd figured out who Gina's father was early on, but didn't connect the dots until she heard about my jail time. Once she knew for sure, she stepped in more intentionally, helping Gina through the tough times and ultimately supporting her emancipation process. Gina had become like family to her. We spoke for a while about the past, about Oak Forest, and how maybe, if Lily had been content with a simpler life, things could have turned out differently. It was bittersweet. But Gina had found her strength and stability, and that gave me peace. Before they left, I pulled Freddie aside and thanked her for everything she'd done. She said she was happy to help, that Gina meant a lot to her, and joked that once I got out, I owed them dinner. I promised I would, assuming I ever got out of this place. The next 2 weeks passed without much change, just the daily grind of jail life. The only highlights were Sunday visits from Gina and Freddie. I was grateful for how much Freddie had stepped in for Gina during all of this. Gina told me they'd been furnishing the Oak Forest house, buying new furniture and decor. When I asked where the money was coming from, she casually said it was from Uncle Ken. After all, there was money set aside for her needs. She made it clear that Freddie hadn't paid for anything. I only had one concern, that the house didn't turn into a floral wonderland. She assured me my man cave in the basement was untouched. That space had always been my retreat, especially living with 2 women. After they left, I found myself reflecting. Gina was now legally an adult. In a few short years, she'd be off to college and then building her own life. I knew the clock was ticking. Eventually, I'd be on my own again, and I hoped to meet someone who appreciated a simpler, honest kind of life. Then, out of nowhere, Lily showed up again. I nearly walked out when I saw her, but she stopped me. She was furious, demanding to know if I knew what Gina had done. I did, of course. Gina had emancipated herself. Lily had just found out and was shocked to learn her daughter had moved out and no longer had to live with either of us. She wanted to know where Gina had gone and accused me of encouraging it. I told her the truth. Gina had done it on her own, with help from her school counselor. She was stunned when I told her Gina had moved back to Oak Forest. She questioned how that would affect her education. I explained that Gina would be returning to her old school in the fall, the one where she had friends and felt accepted, unlike Wilmette, where she'd always felt like an outsider. Lily defended her decision, saying she just wanted the best for Gina. But I reminded her that parenting is more than status and academics. It's about example. And hers hadn't been a great one. There was a moment of silence. Lily admitted not everything had been bad between us, but we both knew where it ended. I wished her well and hoped she'd find what she was looking for, knowing now that it clearly hadn't been me. I left her sitting there, full of regret. Finally, my release day arrived. I was called into court, not video this time, but in person. Gina and Freddie were there, along with Lily. I expected the same judge, but a new one walked in. Maybe the old one had been removed. The new judge reviewed my file and asked if I had anything to say. I told him I'd served my original sentence and 2 extra months. He noted I could have been released earlier had I apologized. I told him I chose not to. Apologizing to someone who didn't deserve it didn't sit right with me. He called me stubborn. I said I preferred strong-willed and that it had served me well in life and business. He then addressed the unresolved financial issues tied to the divorce. My lawyer stepped in and offered to pay $20,000 in full, covering the months missed while I was incarcerated, on the condition that all obligations would be considered settled. Lily immediately protested, claiming she was still owed ongoing payments until Gina turned 18. The judge cut her off, reminding her that he, not she, was running the courtroom. My lawyer broke down the math. I had paid the initial support, mortgage, and insurance before jail. I also continued to cover Gina's needs and insurance throughout my sentence. The only things I didn't pay were spousal support and the mortgage during the months I wasn't earning an income, because I legally couldn't. Now that I was out, I'd be back to work. But it was clear I wasn't going to be paying for Lily's lifestyle anymore. The courtroom was still when the judge glanced at the financial summary and spoke up, noting that 8 months behind bars should have resulted in at least $16,000 in unpaid spousal support, not including mortgage dues. But my attorney stood ready. He pointed out that the divorce judgment clearly stated support was required only until the minor child becomes a legal adult. Our daughter had been emancipated for 3 months, and the house had been foreclosed around the same time. With no loan in place, there was no mortgage to pay. The numbers on the table were accurate. $19,782 owed. We offered $20,000 in full to settle all debts and sever all financial ties between Lily and me. The judge reviewed the transcript, studied the figures, and nodded slowly, admitting he couldn't dispute the plain facts before him. He'd verify everything, but assuming it all checked out, the settlement would stand. He paused, then looked at both of us, Lily and me, and reminded us that while Gina was now legally independent, she was still young and vulnerable. She'd need us both to be respectful, even if we weren't together. Then, locking eyes with me, he asked if I could commit to civility not just with Lily, but with everyone involved in the fallout of our failed marriage. I agreed. So did Lily. And when the judge turned to the gallery, Gina corrected him gently. "It's Gina," before also giving her consent. With that, he stated that pending validation of the figures, the matter was closed. I was free to go. My lawyer thanked the court, and we stood to leave. Gina rushed up and hugged me with everything she had. Freddie stood nearby, watching with quiet pride. Across the room, Lily glared. Then she marched over, seething. "20,000, that's it?" she hissed. I reminded her she'd chosen her new crowd over me. Surely one of her well-connected friends could help her now. She snapped, furious, demanding to know how I could abandon her like this. I stayed calm, reminding her of the judge's request for civility. For Gina's sake. "She's called Regina," she barked. "She's our daughter," I said evenly. Lily's voice dropped, almost panicked. She had nothing left. No job, no home. She was out of options. So I offered her one last olive branch, free rent for 6 months in one of my Southside units, to give her a chance to reset her life. She recoiled at the thought of returning to the South Side, but didn't reject the offer outright. Turning to Gina and Freddie, I asked if they were ready to go. They nodded. I told Freddie I owed her dinner. She smiled, remembering. I suggested RPM Italian. I'd made a reservation after my release was confirmed. It was a step up from jail food, and I wanted to do something right. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Lily stiffen. That used to be our place. The reservation was for 4, so I casually asked Freddie to call her husband and see if he could join us. But her face changed. Her smile disappeared, replaced by a quiet stillness. Gina spoke softly, explaining Freddie's husband had passed away 5 years ago. She apologized for never telling me. Confused, I asked Freddie directly. She was still wearing her wedding ring, after all. She explained gently that her husband had been killed in a crash on the Eisenhower, hit by a semi. She'd never been able to take the rings off. They were her last connection to him. She acknowledged it might seem strange for a psychologist, but grief doesn't always follow logic. I apologized sincerely for my assumption and invited her to join us anyway, hoping to ease the awkwardness. She agreed. That moment reminded me how little I'd paid attention to her own story. I vowed to do better. Starting now, I'd show up for her, not just as Gina's father, but as a real friend. Dinner was incredible. Just wearing normal clothes and eating real food felt surreal, but 8 months of jail changes you. Freedom had a strange texture now, light, unfamiliar, but welcome. By the end of the meal, I felt something I hadn't in a long time: hope. I asked Freddie, Alexandria, if, when she felt ready, she'd let me take her out on a real date. No rush, no pressure, just an honest invitation. Gina chimed in immediately, promising to keep us connected whether Freddie liked it or not. Freddie laughed and said she wouldn't have it any other way. She shared something then: how she and her late husband never had kids. Between school and starting his financial business, it hadn't been the right time. Having Gina in her life had been healing in a way she hadn't expected. I told her I was grateful beyond words. As we left, Gina asked if I was ready to see our old house. Anything would beat the steel and concrete box I'd been calling home. When we arrived, I was stunned. The house looked better than I'd ever seen it. Fresh paint, neat landscaping, clean and cared for. Inside, it felt warm, different, but familiar, and it finally felt like a true home. That's when emotion hit me. I teared up, me, the hardened ex-con, crying in the doorway. Freddie noticed and called my name softly. I wiped my eyes and told her I felt like I was finally home. She stepped closer, removed her wedding rings, and smiled. "I think I'm ready," she said. I smiled back, and we embraced, two people finally turning the page. In the end, 10 lawyers, 4 paralegals, 6 politicians, and 1 judge saw their careers and marriages implode from the chain of events that started with my divorce. Whether you call it stubbornness or conviction, sometimes standing your ground pays off. The real win? Gina found a new family. Eventually, she got 2 siblings, twins. We named them Frederick and Alexis, after the woman who helped rebuild our lives. And Lily? She married a wealthy lawyer. She got the prestige she craved. Big house, high status, the works. But her new husband treats her like a prop, not a partner. He cheats, controls, and keeps up appearances. I hope that's what she wanted. As for me, I finally have peace. And this time, it's real. Looking back, I never imagined rock bottom would be the place I found my footing again. Jail didn't just strip me of my freedom, it stripped me of everything false. All that remained was grit, love for my daughter, and a stubborn refusal to break. And you know what? That was enough. Gina, my daughter, my legacy, taught me more about strength than I ever taught her. Watching her fight for her own freedom while I fought for mine reminded me of the man I used to be. Before marriage, before betrayal, I raised her to stand tall, speak truth, and walk her own road. And she did, even when the system tried to silence her. That's how I know she's going to be just fine. Freddie surprised me. She came into our lives quietly, but left a permanent mark. Maybe that's how real people do it. They don't flash or brag. They just show up when it counts. Somewhere between late-night jail visits and rebuilding Gina's life, Freddie helped rebuild mine, slowly, gently, authentically. And when she took off that ring, I saw not an ending, but a new beginning. My business is back on track. I kept the old properties and bought a few more. I fixed up the Oak Forest home with my own hands, sanded the banisters, painted the walls, even rewired the basement. It was the first time in years I felt in control of something again. The twins, Frederick and Alexis, came into our lives like lightning. Unexpected, powerful, full of noise and wonder. Gina loves them like crazy, watching her hold them, comfort them, protect them. I see the future in her eyes, a better one. As for Lily, I no longer waste energy hating her. What we had burned out long ago and what she chased after, well, she got it. I don't know if she's happy now. I don't think she knows either. But that's no longer my concern. I've made peace with my past, not because it deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved freedom. So yeah, I'm Tex again. The name stuck, and these days it feels less like a relic of my youth and more like a badge earned the hard way. I'm still the guy who doesn't back down, doesn't take orders from people who never lifted a finger to earn their place. But I'm also the guy who cooks pancakes on Sundays, who reads bedtime stories, and who laughs more than he fights. This time, I'm living on my terms, and this time, I'm home for good.